up their no smoking ban.
We're live. Live from the Roxbury Senior Center at Horseshoe Lake. Lois Gibbs from Love Canal, brought to you by Roxbury Environmental Action Coalition, reactnj.org.
We've noticed that when we get them in.
Say hello.
I love the shine.
Say hi to everybody out there watching. Say hello to everybody watching. They're watching.
That's okay.
Oh, you can get in there and just wave down everybody at home. Come on.
Hello, everybody.
Excellent.
Somebody help?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We didn't say we were smart with you now.
I got this. Is there a switch on the mic? Oh, that's not that.
Yeah, but...
No? All right, try it now. Got it? You're good.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Okay, good evening, everybody. It is my honor to welcome you to React Night of Inspiration. I am proud to be a co-founder of React. React started over a year ago when a group of concerned residents decided to learn more about the landfill and raise awareness about the tragedy happening in our backyard at the Fenimore landfill. During this time, we have truly moved mountains, and we have jumped into this fight with both feet, or as in React's case, 16 feet. At this time, I would like to ask each React board member, as I introduce them, to stand up. Bob Schultz, our president. Bill Morocco, our vice president. Angela Johnson, our treasurer. Nicole Faulkner, our social media advisor. Brenda Parr, our technical advisor, research. Anthony Fiore, who's not here this evening, he's part of our research team. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shannon Cacavella, and I am the secretary of React. I would like to take a minute to ask Linda Keene, Christine Polyview, Debbie O'Brien, and Jim Stoltz, if they're here, to stand up because they are part of our original React team, and we would not have come this far without these group of people. Come on, Christine. Over the past year and a half, some of us have moved on. It's a lot time-consuming, but I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge them. And two more people, Myrna and Aaron, if you could please stand. I'd like to personally thank you on behalf of React for all that you do for us. As a React board member, we wear many hats. Our jobs cannot be done without the many volunteers in our community. There is not one job or responsibility that define us. The one thing we all have in common is to educate and raise awareness with regards to the landfill located hundreds of feet from our homes. Our goal is to make our Roxbury community safe for all families and businesses in our town. For the past 9 days, React has run a 10-day campaign. Our goal was to reach our state officials, and especially Governor Chris Christie, and let them know that this all happened under his watch. Today is day 9 of our campaign. Today is the day we proudly introduce Lois Gibbs. She is best known for her successful fight of the Love Canal disaster in Niagara Falls, New York. Ms. Gibbs organized the Love Canal Homeowners Association and fought for more than 2 years to relocate impacted families. Her efforts led to the creation of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act of 1980, or Superfund, which is a U.S. federal law designed to clean up contaminated sites throughout the U.S. In 1981, Ms. Gibbs created the Center of Health, Environment, and Justice, a national nonprofit organization that provides organizing and technical assistance to grassroots community groups in the environmental health and justice movement. REACT reached out to Ms. Gibbs for guidance with our situation at the Fenimore landfill. We are honored today that she is here to speak with us tonight. Please help me and give a warm welcome to Lois Gibbs, a true inspiration.
So thank you for inviting me out here. I'm an organizer. Organizers do not stand still, right? None of you have been still since you've heard about this problem or smelt this problem, right? Okay, the key to winning, keep on moving. Don't give up. So I want to thank REACT for inviting me out here this evening. I'm very proud and honored to be here. We've worked a lot with a number of the REACT members, myself, my science director, Jose, my researcher, and trying to help you out. And so I want to talk a little bit about Love Canal so that you, I'm sorry. We have 2 former Love Canal residents in this community, and I want to welcome them. They lived at the northern end of the community, and that was 36 years ago, so we're not looking so bad. The formaldehyde in the dump really kept us in smooth. So I want to talk about Love Canal, but I also want to talk about what's going on here and why and what you might want to do. And I have to say, now I've been doing this for 36 years, beginning in Love Canal with my friends and former neighbors over there. And in the 36 years, I have traveled to every state except for North Dakota, but now I got a contact, so I'm settled. In the 36 years that I have been doing this with communities, we worked with 12,000 communities across the country, I have never, ever, ever seen such an outrageous, insane thing happen as what's happened here. This is no joke. Every single thing that happened here was not guided by any rules, although there are rules. No regulations, although there are regulations. No testing, although you're supposed to test. No citizen input. No nothing. I mean, every time I said, well, when they put that stuff in there, somebody tested it, right? No. There's not another landfill. Solid waste, hazardous waste, construction waste. There is not another landfill in this country where they do not test the waste before they bring it in, except for here. Why is that so? It's outrageous. No, I'm even talking New Jersey. I work in New Jersey. I want to invite you. My friends from Pompton Lakes here, they've come out for you all today, too. It's not New Jersey, and I would argue that it's Governor Christie.
Yeah.
Governor Christie has broken all the rules. There is a bad boy law in New Jersey, as there is in Ohio and a number of other states. And that bad boy law says a convicted felon cannot run a site, a landfill site. What do you got here? A convicted felon running the site. And then they say, well, that's because he owns the land. Well, you know, if I owned the land and I had a bar on the land, I couldn't serve alcohol without a license to serve alcohol. Just because you own the land doesn't mean you get to operate something when you're a convicted felon. The rules say no. It's not gray, it's black, and it's white. And then, which I found really appalling, is they went and they decided to not allow the township, whatever you feel about the township, and I know people are angry at them, but to not allow the township the ability to test what's in their town. They are responsible for protecting the citizens in this town and have a right to know what's in that bill. And they were denied. Nowhere, I'm telling you, nowhere in this country, in the 36 years that I've been going to communities, 12,000 communities, has a township or a local government body ever been refused testing. In fact, they're generally the first one to come up there. And most townships just don't want to do it. And we can attest to that at Love Canal, right? How could they do that? What is going on at this site? So let's take it to the next level. I promise I'll tell you about Love Canal and inspire you. The next thing they do is they come in because of the gases and they put a burner there. And I saw that burner. That's huge. Huge. They didn't do a stack test. The stack test is when they test the stuff that comes out the top of the burner. And there's a reason for that. Because it is not burning at the right temperature, very, very, very toxic stuff will come out into the community, including dioxin. Most likely you have dioxin coming out of there anyhow, but the level of dioxin coming out will change dramatically based on how the burner burns. There is not another burner, including mobile burners, where they just bring them on site for temporary use. There is not another burner that I know of that has operated in this United States of America without a stack test. What is going on at this site? It's scary. I'm here to tell you it is very scary. They have broken all the rules. They have just dismissed all the policies. And they've just done, not they, Christie has just done what Governor Christie wants to do. Now, he'll tell you it was DEP or DOH or XYZ and I'm here to tell you it was not. They all work for Governor Christie. They all work for Governor Christie. And I would be willing to bet my large $1 million paycheck that I get from my nonprofit that DEP did not make this decision, that Christie made this decision. What has been created here is a worse situation. It's not better. Even if they cap it and they burn it, it's not going to be better. And here's why. It's not going to be better because the incineration of the gases, the burning of the gases and whatever else, is going to create dioxin and other chemicals into your environment. You won't smell them, so you won't be quite so annoyed. But they will be there. It's just like any other incinerator. Go find some incinerator fighters. There's plenty of them in Jersey, and they'll tell you what comes out of those stacks. The water that they use to scrub the stack is now a waste, and it's got to go somewhere. I don't know where they plan on taking it, but I'll be willing to bet they're going to find a way to do it on site. But even if they don't, and they take it off site, you have potential accidents and a whole host of other problems, which is not for just 1 year or 6 months. This is a 30-year plan that's on the books. 30 years. Okay, so now you have emissions coming out the top. You have water from the scrubbers that now has to be disposed of. And then you have leachate. You know, around the landfill there's groundwater. And you have all of those problems. Right? And that has to be pumped and treated. Or it's going to get in all your basements and your houses. And the people in Pompton Lake can tell you exactly what that's like when you have a fan going up the side of your house to suck the toxic air out of the bottom of your house. It's called vapor intrusion. What they did in this community is they took a landfill that was not pretty, but relatively harmless, and created the worst nightmare ever. And I don't understand why Christie did this. I do not understand why Christie did this. It is illegal. There was no permit. You have to have a permit to reopen a landfill. There was no permit. Another rule, another policy, another law that he just ignored. He just ignored it. And then he has the nerve to say, I'm going to fix it because I'm going to cap it. Well, that's not going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Because those gases that are underneath there, yeah, they can burn some of those off, and they can put their little thing around there. But those gases are going to continue to go under the ground, and there are many homes across the country, and the Pompton Lakes can tell you, but I can tell you in other places where it's less about toxics and more about solid waste, is that people have methane in their houses, and their houses actually blow up. You can't smell it. Okay, lastly. There are people who are on well water here, the vast majority of you, I assume, right? These gases get into your well water. And so you can put a filter on your well, and it'll last for a little while. But here's the problem with well water and contaminants, is that when your well water is contaminated, and you take a shower, just close your eyes and imagine the shower, that you're in the shower. What you see in the shower is all of the steam. All of that steam represents water droplets with chemicals. Because of the heat, because of the steam, and because you're in the shower in a closed area, you are breathing those chemicals directly into your lungs. They're not being filtered anyway like air normally would with the hair in your nose and so forth and so on. It's going right in your lungs. And there are places across this country where they have measured chemicals in the water to be one number, and in the steam of a confined shower area, the number increased 3,000 times in the air. It's not going away. It's not going away. And Christie did this to you. Governor Christie did this to you. And I don't know why he did it to you. I just know that he's not a very nice man. He did this to you. And so I want to talk a little bit about how you fight back and tell you the Love Canal story. Because although everything I said makes you sort of like want to hang your head or run out the door or get a drink, or if you eat when you're frustrated, get an ice cream cone, whatever, you can win this one. You have the ability to win this one. It doesn't matter. And actually, it's easier to win it now because Christie's in the hot seat anyhow. You can win this one, but you can't win it based on science, and you can't win it based on law. You can only win this fight if you continue to be politically active. this new investigation that the senators are calling for didn't happen because the senators care, with all due respect. I'm sure they do care somewhere. They did this because you were outspoken, because you were in their faces, because you were going to meetings, because you were doing press conferences, because you were doing marches, because you were demonstrating down here at the Horseshoe Lake. They did it because you were making noise and they're trying to find a way to shut you up. And if they say we'll do this investigation, I support the investigation, by the way. If they tell you they're going to do an investigation, it'll take 2 years, then you say, fine. In the meantime, dig it up, take it out. Don't tell them you're going to wait 2 years to find out what to do with the dump to see who's guilty. You know who's guilty. Christie is guilty. He made the decision to open the landfill, to allow a felon to operate it, to bring waste in untested, to bury it there. Christie did it. Get the investigation that they're planning, but don't wait for the investigation to get the cleanup that you deserve. And you deserve this. So, how do you do that? Well, it ain't easy. Back when I was a child, no. So let me tell you about Love Canal, because in these same years, we've realized in the communities I've worked with that the lessons that we drew from Love Canal are actually lessons that are valid today. And although some of our laws and regulations have changed, not that Christie cares, but they have, that the way you win these fights have not. So when I moved into Love Canal, I was a mom with a healthy baby, 1 year old, Michael, and I had bought the American dream just like the rest of you. I had a nice ranch-style home. It had a picket fence. I had a station wagon. My husband was gainfully employed. I had this little baby who actually was kind of ugly, but he was my baby, and he was healthy, ugly but healthy. I had HBO. I had everything, right? And I was 27. I was like a baby myself. And then while at Love Canal, I gave birth to my second child, my daughter Melissa. And Melissa, I carried her at Love Canal. And Melissa was a little smaller than she was supposed to be, but she seemed also perfectly healthy. And then after a short period of time, a couple of years, I realized that my children were getting very sick. I'm sure these stories sound very familiar to some of you. Michael had developed asthma. He developed epilepsy, where he'd have grand mal seizures. He developed a liver problem, a urinary tract disorder, which required 2 operations to correct. He developed an immune system problem where he had no immune system, so he couldn't even go to the hospital because it was too dangerous. And my daughter Melissa, she was fine, and then all of a sudden on Friday she got these bruises. On Saturday she got many more bruises, and by Sunday her entire little toddler body was full of bruises. And Monday I took her to the doctor and said, what is going on? I am healthy, my husband's healthy. Why are my children so sick? And I take them out, I feed them right, all that kind of stuff. And he said he didn't know, and he said he would take Melissa's blood sample and call me later with the results. Well, later that afternoon, the doctor, my pediatrician, called me back and said, Mrs. Gibbs, we believe your daughter has leukemia. And here's what we need for you to do. We need you to pick her up. We need you to put her in the car. Do not put a seat harness on her. Do not bump her. Do not squeeze her in any way. And take her immediately to Buffalo Children's Hospital. Any impact on her body could create an internal hemorrhage. So I have a toddler that I'm going to take to Buffalo Children's Hospital, which is about 20 minutes away. And I put her in the seat and promised her an ice cream cone. She said still, and she did. So I get into Buffalo Children's Hospital, and they shoo me into this sort of makeshift, weird sort of surgical place. And they start to explain to me what's going on, but Melissa's screaming. So we step outside of the room, and the doctor said, okay, so we have to do a bone marrow test on your daughter. And in order to do that, what we need to do is insert a needle into her hip and withdraw the bone marrow. However, because her blood count is so low, we do not want to use heavy anesthetic. So if you could please come into the room and see if you can hold her down while we do this and calm her down while we do this procedure, that would be helpful. And so I walk in the room, and my daughter is screaming on top of her lungs, just screaming. And as she screams, her nose was bleeding, her gums were bleeding, the blood vessels underneath her skin were burst, and it was too much, and I walked out. And I stood outside the door and listened to my daughter scream, "Mama, they're hurting me. Mama, please, I promise I'll never be bad again." And I tell you the story not because my children suffered more than others. My children did not. They survived. Other children, like their neighbor, John Kenny, died at 7 years of age. I tell you this story because while this was happening to us, myself, my neighbors, while our children were getting sick, just like here in this community, while you are all getting sick, the city of Niagara Falls, the state of New York, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency all knew we were being poisoned. They knew it, and they made a conscious decision that because we were not wealthy people and we didn't contribute a lot to society, and I don't know how you measure that, that we were not worth saving. They did a cost-benefit analysis, and you want to stat that they did one here, if not once, multiple times. And at Love Canal, our cost-benefit analysis, the way it works, is how much does each household make annually. My husband made $10,000 a year. We weren't wealthy, but we were happy. And so, my husband was worth $10,000 a year. I did not work outside the household. I was worth nothing. My son, who they believe would follow in his daddy's footsteps, was worth $10,000 plus an inflation factor. And my daughter, who would follow in her mother's footsteps, was worth nothing because I did not work outside the home. And they looked at, so what is the price of each family in this community using, that's a crude measurement, but essentially that's how it works. And they looked at that amount and they said that to clean up Love Canal would be $20 million, and we were not, it actually said this, no, it didn't say we were not. They said the cost-benefit analysis didn't work, so we were not worth $20 million. How dare they? And that same decision is made in this community today by Governor Christie and all of his lackeys. How dare he come into this neighborhood, into this community, this beautiful community. It's quite beautiful. It really is. How dare they come into this community and make a decision that we are going to poison this community, we are going to ruin the dump that was okay, it wasn't a huge problem, and we're going to destroy everything that you guys know and love. How dare he? And that's what they did at Love Canal. And so I'm Irish. So, Irish Catholic is worse. So, yeah. So, using my Irish. So we got mad. It's like, you can't say what people are worth. You don't have, God has a right to do that. You don't have a right to say that. And so we first thought, maybe that's not what it's about. Maybe they don't understand. Maybe they really don't understand what's going on here. And so we went out and did a health survey. And we looked at all of our community. And we found in our health survey that 56% of our children were born with birth defects. So 56% of our children had 3 ears, double rows of teeth, extra fingers, extra toes, or were mentally retarded. We had a number of women who had miscarriages and stillborns. and a whole host of other diseases. And we took, Dr. Beverly Pagan, our volunteer scientist, took this to New York State Department of Health, who worked for Governor Hugh Carey at the time, as your Department of Health works for Governor Christie, and took it to the health department and said, here is our hypothesis. We believe this is going on. Please check this out. We need to get out. Our families are at risk. And so they looked at the stuff and they said, it's useless housewife data collected by people who have a vested interest in the outcome. How come? How come when other people, like the landfill owners and DEP and polluters, come up with a study, it's not called useless housewife data, and it's credible, and it doesn't have a vested interest in the outcome? My goodness, they have more of a vested interest in the outcome than we did. So they tried to dismiss us. And we couldn't understand it, because we believed that we could show there was science. Just like if you could show this landfill, and what they did up there is leaking this gas and getting into the children's schools and getting into the homes and making people sick, they will come around and do the right thing. And the answer is no, they won't. They won't. So what we decided to do was to organize politically. But just one step before we did that, we forced them to come out and do a study. And we did this by dogging them across the state. Everywhere that the governor was, so was somebody from our group. Just 3 people, it doesn't take 100 people, with a sign, what are you going to do about Love Canal? What are you going to do about Love Canal? What are you going to do about Love Canal? And so everywhere the governor went, and we wanted to do a study, that was our goal at the time. So they came out and they did a study. And they called me up beforehand and said, we're going to release the study tonight at a public meeting locally. And you'd be amazed at what we found, Ms. Gibbs. And I said, really? He said, yeah, we found the same thing you found. And I'm like, yeah, duh. I'm not making it up. People are sick. People are sick. So they came out and they stood on the stage, and we were thinking at this point that if they really did find what we found, there's no way they could just walk away and dismiss us out of hand. There is no way they can do that. And so they came to our community, got on this raised stage, and did all their kind of jibber-jabber about methodology and all this kind of science stuff on how they did their study. And then they came back and said, and we found similar results to the homeowner association. What we found was 56% of the children in this community were born with birth defects. In fact, the birth defects that the homeowner association talked about were identical to the ones we found. And we're waiting, because now we're saying what? Okay, so you're going to do something. I mean, you can't go into a community and say over 50% of the babies are birth defected and just walk away. You can't do that. That's just morally wrong, right? So they come back and they finish their sentence by saying, but, which I always think is, whenever they say but, I just want to slap everybody now. But we do not believe that the 56% birth defect rate is related to the Love Canal chemicals, not related to the 20,000 tons of chemicals in our community that's leaking out. We believe that this increase in birth defects is related to a random clustering of genetically defected people. So, when you're saying I have to leave my house in the middle of the night because I can't breathe, they're going to say you're having a panic attack. Did they say that? Yeah. When you have migraine headaches, they're going to say it's because you women have PMS, take some Midol or something. There will always be another reason for your symptoms rather than that horrible, illegal, immoral dump up the hill. That's the truth. So we did one other thing before I tell you how we actually fought it, which is the fun part. Is that the other thing we thought we would do is this is America. In America, everybody sues everybody for everything, right? So we're going to go get a lawyer, and we're going to sue him, because clearly it cannot be legal to poison people and acknowledge you're poisoning people. And so we went to see a lawyer, and we walked into his office, and I'm just like, and he's like, will you sit down? You know, I have a tendency to get a little excited. And I'm like, okay. So I sat down, and then he explained to me that in America, actually, it is not illegal to poison people. So, although you don't have any of these, but normally they give you permits, in pollution permits. So they're allowing so much to go out the stack and so much to go through the ground. And those permits and allowable limits are allowed to go because they will only kill 1 in a million people. Now, that's 1 in a million people per chemical per exposure point. So if you have the smokestack that looks like white fluffy smoke, it looks like a little cloud, it doesn't look very dangerous, that probably has at least 5 chemicals in it. You can't see them. And each one of those 5 chemicals could create a cancer. And you add them together, it increases the chance of cancer even more significantly. And then you add those 3 things together with what you're breathing on the high school playing yard, or in your home, or in your backyard, or while you're taking a swim in your pool, then you're increasing even more. Because the permits only address one chemical, one point source. So when you have multiple chemicals and multiple point sources, you're actually more exposed and more likely to get sick. And those are almost always based on cancer. That does not mean you're not going to get respiratory disease and other disease, heart disease. That's how they do their regulations. So when the lawyer told me that, I'm like, holy moly, when the hell did that happen? You know, I've been voting since I was 18. But that's what permits are for. So we decided at that point, this is crazy. This is crazy. The law doesn't support you. The health didn't help us, because every time we found a new health effect, the women who were having miscarriages, they said they were having legalized abortions and didn't want to tell their spouses. And these are women who lost babies, I'm telling you. They were really upset. So there was always another reason. So what we decided is, we need our science. You need your science. You need those folks that are the geeky science people, whoever you are out there. We need you to keep being geeky science people. We need you to find that science. Yes, right here. No, you're very valuable. Don't do that. We love you. We love you. But science is a tool. It's a tool in a political struggle. And if you have a lawyer or lawyers that can find some legal handles, it's a tool. You are not going to win a lawsuit that's going to remove that dump. That is not going to remove the dump. I'm telling you right now. I don't care how many lawyers you got, and I don't care how good they are, they're not going to stop the dump. Not going to clean up the dump. That the way to fight this is politically. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you need to take your story everywhere Governor Christie is. And you might want to join with the Pompton Lakes people who've been trying to do this as well. In their case, Governor Christie won't put them on the Superfund list. Yeah, Superfund is out of Christie's face. Why won't he do that? Maybe he's in bed with DuPont. I don't know.
Ringwood's here also, the Forsyth.
The Forsyth.
That's Janet.
Yeah, you have Forsyth here. So the political battle, and so I would suggest you join forces however you can, and you get into Governor Christie's face. And I mean that literally. So at Love Canal, when that didn't happen, when all of that information came out, and they still would not move us, especially the fact that our children were being born deformed, we went out and we followed the governor everywhere he went. And we didn't just follow the governor, we also made our local legislators a little uncomfortable as well. Not being rude, but being persistent. So, for example, Michael Laughlin was our mayor, who never supported us. And so we thought, well, we can't fight City Hall, because City Hall's a building, right? But we knew where Mike went for a fish fry every Friday night, right? So we all got there a half hour earlier than Mike did, Mayor O'Loughlin. And we all took all over the tables except for the one he sits in. And then when he sat there with his family, we started talking about the dump and how Michael Locke was responsible for the dump and why aren't they doing anything? Give us a resolution of support. Yeah, we know you don't have any money. Do something. And Michael Lachlan was really angry. We weren't rude. We weren't violent. But we were there. And everywhere Michael Lachlan went, we were in his face. We knew he couldn't give us any money. But we made his life as miserable as ours are. You think about how miserable your life has. How many of your meetings you've gone to where you could be doing something else. How many things have you done that you didn't have to do if this wasn't the issue? Think of how miserable your life. You made lots of new friends, but it's miserable. Good friends, miserable life. So then we went after the governor. So for the governor of New York State, what we did is we went all across the state. And wherever the governor was attending an affair, we were there with our signs. Governor Hugh Carey, what are you going to do about Love Canal? For Christie, Governor Christie, dig it up, take it out. You don't need to defend it. Dig it up, take it out. Or somebody has it. Where's that T-shirt? Somebody has
Truck it out.
Truck it out. Dig it up, truck it out. And every time you talk to a politician, well, before I talk to you, let's dig it up, truck it out. You want to know what I want? Dig it up, truck it. I tell you, it makes them crazy. I'm making you crazy, right? At this point, I am. Dig it up, truck it out. So here's the way it works, is that you just organize across the state. There's plenty of groups across New Jersey who could help you. So let me give you an example of one of the things we did at Love Canal that worked really well. We wanted Governor Carey to come to our community and talk to us. Governor Carey didn't want to come to our community and talk to us, just like Governor Christie doesn't want to come to the community and talk to you. But we were going to get him there whether he wanted to or not. And so what we did is we went to the $1,000 plate Democratic dinners. And at every dinner we showed up and we had leaflets. One side of the page talked about 56% birth defect rate, all of those details that I told you, the human part of it. The other side of the page said, we are going to dog your candidate. We are going to be in your candidate's space throughout every electoral campaign until he comes to Love Canal. And it didn't talk about, it's not a long thing, it's a short thing. And so people in the $1,000, we didn't get in because I don't have $1,000, but people inside this were really upset. It's like, can they really make a difference? Can they really make a difference? And so when the governor went at that particular dinner to the podium, he walked up there and instead of talking about education, jobs, roads, you know, the same thing the governors all talk about, he went up to the podium and said, I know you're concerned about the Love Canal people outside. Rest assured, I'm going to go to their community and meet with them. And he did that because he knew he was not going to get any peace from us, but he also did that because his donors were very concerned about whether they should give him money if he's going to lose this race. Now, I know Christie's not up again, but Christie represents a huge portion of the Republican Party. And by following him around, right? I mean, the Republican Party is getting a little wavy on Christie, but nonetheless, by following around, people are going to be afraid they're going to taint the other Republican candidates. And so he'll have some peer pressure from the other Republican candidates to say, you know, Christie, don't deal with those people because they're giving Republicans a bad name and we're not all bad. So it's a way to create that pressure. The other things we did around the governor is when we heard he was going to go to a ribbon-cutting affair, we had a prayer vigil. And we prayed loudly that God will inspire the governor to do the right thing at Love Canal. Very loud. Dear Lord in heaven. And then we had some of them Catholic ones. They were really good about shouting out. We weren't soft enough to get those rabble-rousers. So we did that. We did a walk of concern with our religious leaders for the more conservative people. We did everything we could, and every weekend we had something going on, or every week, not always on the weekend. We had something going on, and it was all focused on the governor And as a result, the governor was feeling the heat. And the governor came to Love Canal. Now, the governor came to Love Canal and said, so when you think about this, so if the governor did come, just think about it for a moment. If the governor came here, what would happen? Well, he said he was coming to Love Canal. And we were all excited. That is not the victory. The victory is when he's in the front of the room and he says, I'm going to dig it and truck it out of here. Did I say that right? Dig it out. That's the victory. Just him coming into this community center, standing in front of you and telling you what a great governor he is not a victory. But most people get fooled by that. Oh, the governor's coming. We won. This is great. We're winning. No. He's playing you. You got to play him back. This is about politics. And in Jersey, you guys got some of the ripest or richest, I'm not sure what it is, politics. I'm not going there because I know some really good legislators that really do care about people here. Okay, so the governor says, okay, I'm going to come to Love Canal, and I'm going to speak to the people, and I will take one question from the audience. That was what was negotiated. Because if he's just going to come and speak to us, who cares? Right? You're going to interact with me. So he agreed to do that. Now, we still didn't win because we won one question. Because what's the question? How are we going to design a question that only has the answer that we want? So we don't want to say we'll study that, or we wanted him to give us the answer we wanted, which is relocation. So, jumping ahead, the governor comes, we organize. Every time you go into one of these meetings, you've got to organize, think out of the box. We know the governor's going to be in the front of the room. We know he's going to be on an elevated stage. We know he's going to have a podium. We know that there will be 500 people in the audience. And we know we only have one question. And so what happened after that was the governor, the state had just before that initialed, made a recommendation and evacuation of pregnant women and children under 2 in the first 239 homes that encircled the canal. So if you were pregnant or you had a child under 2, you could be moved. If your child was 2 years and 1 day or not pregnant, you're stuck. Okay? So anyhow, so the governor's coming. We have 500 people. We organize. A meeting has to be organized. You need to think it through from the beginning to the end, whether it's your township leaders or whether it's the governor of New Jersey. And so the governor came. He came up on the podium. He just gave a great speech. You know, you almost wanted to vote for him again. And then when he got done, he said, oh, I have time for one question. Like, it was a surprise, right? And so I was appointed to raise my hand and ask a question. But there's 500 people in the audience. And the governor doesn't want to call on me. He knows who I am, right? So he's looking for another hand. But we organize ourselves, spread ourselves out. Anybody who raised their hand got pulled down. So all across the audience you hear, ooh, ah, ooh, what you doing? Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Whatever, the comments, right? And the governor finally had to call on me because no other hand would go up, including the media's hand. They were tackled as well. Everybody was free game. And then when I got to ask my question, I gave a very long intro. And as I was giving a long intro, down the center of the aisle, below the governor, but in the center of the aisle, came 3, 4, and 5-year-old children, dressed in their Sunday best, and promised an ice cream cone if they were successful. You know, you always got to give everybody an incentive. And what the children were supposed to do was make a half circle in front of the governor, fold their hands, and look up at the governor. And don't move till the mother gives a signal. So the young children came down the aisle, circled, semicircle around, folded their hands, looked up at the governor. And when they were in place, I said, Governor, you've evacuated pregnant women and children under 2 in the first 2 rows of homes. Are you going to allow these 3, 4, and 5-year-olds to remain in those homes, be poisoned, and die? And the cameras went. Cameras went to the kids, to the governor, to the kids, to the governor. He had a pregnancy pause. He could have had multiple children. And then he finally said, no, actually, that's what I came to tell you. Like he forgot, right? Well, shocked. And he said, no, we're going to evacuate all 239 families who lived in the first 2 rings of homes. And he wasn't going to do that. Not because they didn't deserve to be moved, but because it wasn't politically advantageous. Because when we had him in that room, and the cameras were looking from the small children back up to him, the cameras were the eyes of the entire state of New York. Where the governor goes, the entire public goes. It's the nightly news. You see the governor somewhere doing something, a few times a week. I don't know, with Christie it might be more, it might be less. But when you're doing this, you're not doing it to prove you're right. You're not doing it to give your people voice. You're doing it to expose his vulnerabilities to the rest of the public in the state in which you live. And the governor could not tell the voting public, no, I'm going to let those kids lay there and die. Or I'm going to study it. I mean, really? Because we put the children there, it mattered. Because there was nothing else. He couldn't say, I don't have enough money to save children. I mean, what else was he going to say? And so that's the key to winning these battles, is to try and figure out creative ways to go after Governor Christie. I swear, Governor Christie is ultimately responsible for this in many ways. I have never, ever seen such a disaster in my life, which has nothing to do with the toxics. It just has to do with all the broken systems. And he's doing this all across the state. It is not just here. In Pompton Lakes, he is just being a real jerk. I mean, he's literally holding his breath and stamping his feet, saying, you'll never be super fun, you'll never be super fun, you'll never be super. It's like, really? Yeah. Grow up. Which is what he said here, too. I'm going to cap it. I actually have his quote here. I thought it was disgusting. I was like, man, who voted for him? Yeah.
Talking to me.
Let me just make it really plain and simple to you. I'm not doing it. Under any circumstances, I'm not doing it. Yeah. It needs to be capped, and it's going to be capped. That's what I say. Okay, Governor. Gotcha. If you want to win this battle, you need to fight it politically. And it means stepping outside your comfort zone. I know a lot of people are very conservative in this community. I also know a lot of them are a little wacky. We don't want the wackies to rule. And the conservatives, you're too conservative. However, there are places where each one of you can fit and do an action. It does not have to be radical. It could be a parade of children wherever the governor is. You can call the governor's scheduler, and you can find out where he's going to be. New Jersey is a smaller state than New York, and we were able to find somebody, and we didn't have all these toxic activists all across the state. You make a deal. We'll do this for you if you do this for me. You trade, you help each other, you support each other. It's a political fight. All the facts in the world is not going to change it. All the lawsuits in the world are not going to change it. The only thing that's going to change it is if you get political and organized. And organized and organized and organized. And I will tell you that this group, because of Christie's vulnerabilities and all the craziness he's in now, and because this broke every law, every single law without exception. I mean, couldn't you have just met one? Every law without exception. That you have more ability to win than any other group in the state. Is that right?
I agree.
Yeah.
You have more of ability to win. But that means this summer, you need to make it happen. You really need to go to Christie's office, sit on the steps, do whatever you got to do. You've got to make it happen. And you got to make it happen before they start putting the damn cap on. Right? I mean, when the cap's on, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you've lost, because you can still get it trucked out of here. I like dig it up, take it out. It's easier for me. You do truck, I'll do dig. It doesn't mean you lost, but you can win this. And you can go and get the media. There are a number of medias that I've been feeding the story to who says, tell me about the Brownfield program. Oh, I'll show you a Brownfield program that went up. And so get the media involved, make it a human interest, use the science that our scientists are putting together to justify your ask, and go after him. I'm telling you, you have such a chance here. Your chance is higher over the next year. And each year, your chances of winning get lower. So you want to really say, we're going to commit this next year everything we have. Everything we have. So folks like the woman in the back isn't living separate from her husband to protect her babies. Or she's not waking up in the middle of the night gasping for air. That should not be. That is wrong. That's not fair. It's not right. And the governor is responsible to fix that broken problem. And you can make them do it. There's tons of things. Just think out of the box. When they hold their hearings, don't go there with your science. He's got that one handled, right? He's got a handle. Don't go there with your science. Have somebody bring the science, and then the rest of you go with something else. Go in costume. Go in signs. Hold a press conference before their press conference. Think out of the box. Do things that are unexpected. If they don't expect it and it takes them by surprise, they fall on their face every single time, without exception. And I'll tell you, Governor Cuomo is really a smart, sophisticated political man, and the groups in New York have taken him down on a number of occasions because they're not predictable. So that's what I would close with, and I'll be happy to have some dialogue about clarifying some of these ideas and stuff. But really, this is a horrible situation. You should not be here. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. It's got to be fixed. You need this next year to really turn up the heat, to make it, get it fixed so you can win. Bring it back. Have your lives back. Have your community back. Have your environment back. This whole campus right here is just amazingly gorgeous. It's amazingly gorgeous. You should be proud. And you should want to be here forever. And then he's got to fix it to do that. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Anybody? Let's figure out how to really fix this problem.
I'll start. Go for it. Well, we came up with the idea to an out-of-the-box idea. Petition and letters to each and every one of the contractors, which the list was put up, kind of occupying their emails about how dangerous this situation is. Suggesting that this may not be the job for them. So maybe all the bidders just get out of the way.
It's a good idea. I mean, bidders don't want to get in controversy because they don't want to deal with you, and there's other jobs, right? But I also would say everybody take their cell phones or whatever phones. Most people have cell phones. Put the governor's phone number in there for his office. Do we have that number somewhere? Yes. Can you post it up front? Put the governor's phone number in your cell phone. And every time you get angry at your husband, don't yell at him. Call the governor. Every time your teacher gives you a bad grade, your coach benches you, call the governor. Trust me, the governor's not answering the phone. All they're doing is collecting the number of people who are concerned about a particular issue. It's down the same line of calling the contractor. So if they are hearing constantly, I mean, how hard is it to put the number in your phone and dial it? You get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you get your coffee, you go in the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you come out of the bathroom, you call the governor. Brushing your teeth is a trigger. So at night, before you go to sleep, when you go to brush your teeth, Call the governor. It doesn't matter. It's an answer machine at night. And just say, you know, whatever your slogan is, you know, dig it up, take it out, truck it. I can't get that one right, sorry. You know, dig it up, truck it out. Okay, truck it out. You know, and say your community. That's all you have to say. They just do a check. You don't have to go any further than that. You don't need to be elaborate. You can be if you're really angry and your husband's really pissed you off. You know, whatever. You know, you can do that. But that's a simple thing to do. You know, when you're in the grocery store and you're behind somebody, you know, they already checked all their stuff out, and then they said, "Oh, I got to pay for it." Just you know, it takes them 15 minutes to find their wallet and their pocketbook, like they were surprised they're going to pay at the end. While you're waiting for them to pull out their wallet, call the governor. This is the truth. This will make him crazy. If you have relatives across the state or friends, ask them to make a commitment to call the governor 10 times a week. And whether they want to do it around toothbrushes or dinner table, it's irrelevant. Just call 10 times a week so they can say, "I'm from Trenton, truck it out." Got it right? Yeah.
Instead of calling this the governor or the Fenimore landfill, which is a very unfair thing to do, Fenimore, it should be referred to as the Governor Christie landfill.
In Roxbury.
I don't know if you heard in the back, but instead of the Fenimore landfill, we should call it the Governor Christie landfill. But I would also add the name of the landfill to it so they know exactly, because he's got a lot of Governor Christie landfills across the state.
That'll be more clear.
So at least put your city or something.
Would you consider a 10-minute YouTube video to be something that we all work on, a 10-minute video to be a more successful strategy to sort of give the message to the most amount of people?
I think a 10-minute video is an additional strategy. I don't think it's either or, because a lot of people, especially seniors, are not into social media venues, and some of them are, but not all of them. So I think that's the whole thing: is you gotta tweet the governor, you gotta Facebook the governor, you gotta YouTube the governor, you gotta call the governor. You really, this is a campaign. Think about it as a campaign. And you need to do all of these things. The other thing that we were talking about outside is that all across New Jersey, you guys should get together with the other landfill people, proposed landfills or toxic landfills or whatever, and do a petition. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but ask to have the governor's authority for regulating landfills and land-related toxics taken away. There's a RCRA, they call it, Resource Conservation Recovery Act. That's air, it's land, it's toxics in different ways. Have his authority taken away. Now, we did this in Ohio around air, RCRA and air, and took it away from the governor for 2 years in Ohio because he couldn't manage it. So if you did this all across the state, then it means you would be dealing with the EPA, which, you know, is a distance away and it's a bigger agency. You could get lost there, but you know what? They're going to mess with you in a whole different kind of way than this guy is. They're going to follow the rules. And, you know, there's just, I think it's a way better agency than what you have here, but you have to make that decision yourself. Anyhow, I think that the right for the governor to manage the cleanup of landfills and permit new landfills must be taken away after seeing what he's done across the state. And so that could be something you could all work on all across the state, using your own sort of story as a story that needs to be told and why it's important.
I'm a little concerned that our governor is such a arrogant son of a bitch. So what do you do about that? It's almost like he doesn't give a crap about anybody in this room or even through the whole state. He wants to be the next president. So what do we do about that?
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. You're not wrong in that he doesn't give a crap about you. I think that's probably right, although he would argue he cares about all of us good citizens. I think when I told the story about going to the $1,000 plate dinner, those people at the $1,000 plate dinner didn't give a crap about me. They didn't care that our kids were being born the way they were being born. But what they cared about was the flip side of that sheet. which was, we're going to ruin this campaign, we're going to ruin that election, and we're going to give a black eye to your party. Anybody that's in your party associated with you is going to get a black eye. And it was the peer pressure that created. What Christie likes is politics. And what Christie really likes is politics on the big stage. And so anytime you can raise a flag around Christie, someone who's his opponent is going to bring that into the fold. Well, what'd you do with those folks? You know, why did you break the rule? Why did you have a felon? I mean, how could you govern the country when you're allowing felons to run a landfill when the law says, hey, no, you can't do that? How do we know you're going to not do that here in a larger stage in the world? It's the world stage at the White House level. So it's not about him liking you. He doesn't like you. He'll never like you. He may never even meet you. It's about getting him to understand that you guys are going to be that gnat in his face until he trucks it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there one on this side of the room?
I just want to say something really quick. Greenwood is proof that anything is possible. They are the first in the nation to be able to get, after they were taken off Superfund, to be relisted on the Superfund list. And the first in the whole nation. And because of their hard work,